Oh, it's very, very hard for Patrick. He set such a high standard to impress me, particularly in October. It's not really impressive October games so much. But I'm very surprised how few people recognize the level of quarterbacking he's graduated to. That he can, I mean, Coach, you can wince and you can squint and you can secretly be so nervous that he is going to wreck all of the Patriots' records.
I can't sleep
but that he knows at this point, especially with this team, with these injuries at the receiver position, that they need to figure out what they can and can't do. And he's going to use the first few quarters of every game to work on that. And then in the fourth quarter, he will snap, be the best quarterback in football again. Because again, this year, in the fourth quarter, he has snapped, been vintage Patrick Mahomes. Maybe not the total touchdowns numbers, but that also is maybe a function of the fact that they've been running the ball so effectively. And this is a Chiefs team that never trails in the fourth quarter, that leads through the fourth quarter in every game except for, I guess, 2 games they haven't led for the entire fourth quarter. And total time trailing this season, Coach, in the fourth quarter is less than 10 minutes, which is the best in the league by far. So go ahead, Coach.
So you think like this week he was like, I got to figure out if I throw a pick and it gets down to the 3-yard line, will my defense be able to hold? That's
exactly.
What they were workshopping that in the quarterback room. Like, hey, if I throw a really terrible interception this week,
hold on, did you think that was a really terrible interception? That's how you would have graded if you were in the film room? He would get the grade, or Wanya Morris
Well, I'm just saying.
No, you called it that. I'm just asking.
But let me put it in context. This is 5 games. Now, finally, we got over the 90 quarterback rating. But 5 games in a row, he's sub 90, which is a career worst for him. Last game, he has his career worst quarterback rating. So to sit here and say that he's redefining the quarterback position when he's performing at the worst level he's performed in his career.
See, so I don't agree with you.
But he does have the best team that he's had collectively. The other parts are obviously. We'll put an asterisk with the wide receivers. But for him to be performing at this level, the best thing for Kansas City is that he's playing at this level and they're winning. That's the thing they should be excited about. Let me ask you a different question. They should not be excited about the way he's playing.
Are you confident that if you dropped any other quarterback on this Chiefs team, they'd be 7-0? Because I'm not. I know they are with him.
No.
Right. I know they. Exactly. I'm asking you. Are you confident that if any other quarterback was dropping on this team with this defense, this coaching, they'd be 7-0? I'm not saying no one could. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think it would be happening. And the fact that his numbers are excellent when the games really matter at the end, and that the Chiefs have controlled all of these games, means, in my humble opinion, our micro dissection of how well is Patrick Mahomes playing really is a little overwrought. And yes, and last week's absolute race to elevate Lamar ahead of him was a little premature. That's all I'm saying. That's all. I don't
go into this game. He had 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
I understand. I get that.
If this was any other quarterback besides your hometown Chiefs, you would be killing him.
Coach, I'm telling you right now, there is no player in sports that is the 2-time defending MVP of the Super Bowl or of their championship round that was on the last undefeated team that I would ever be killing. And I would flip it on you, which is, if this were any other team other than the Chiefs, you'd be here saying, you know what? That's what great quarterbacking is understanding it's not about your stats, it's not about your numbers, it's not about the light show. It's about putting your team in position and making plays where it counts. And so I actually think it's the opposite. I think that people are so sick of the Chiefs' excellence that they are being ridiculous in trying to spend more time talking about what's wrong with the team that hasn't lost since last Christmas and what's wrong with a quarterback that everyone knows you would take over every other quarterback in the league.
Everybody acknowledges Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. No question about it.
Okay.
I think everybody acknowledges that.
I mean, last week it was Lamar on everyone's list.
But no one really thinks
right,
that.
exactly.
No one really.
Nobody, if you're doing a draft, nobody's going to take Lamar over.
Over
well,
Mahomes.
Exactly.
Baltimore might, but nobody else is going to take Lamar over.
I'm going to let this clip roll, but, like, again, stop with the nonsense. No one is saying that they're picking Lamar over Mahomes. People were saying that Lamar is playing better right now than Mahomes, which is objectively and subjectively true. But no one is saying to the core that, like, a Lamar or any of these other quarterbacks was better, is just overall better than Mahomes. So again, we're playing the shell game, making stuff up here. Okay? I mean, 100%. And this idea that people are just sick of the Chiefs' excellence and that's why they're criticizing them is nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. Nick ripped, and rightfully so, the Eagles last season, even though they kept winning game after game after game after game. And they had just gone to the Super Bowl and had another unbelievable season. When you look at the numbers that Hurts had, I mean, listen, and we're going to talk about Mahomes, make no mistake about it, but let me just throw this up here, right? The Eagles have the second best road winning percentage, 21-9 in the NFL, behind only the Chiefs, who are 21-7 under Nick Sirianni as a head coach. So Jalen Hurts' his entire career and Sirianni. Birds are 13-1 in last 14 games versus the AFC. The Eagles have the highest interconference winning percentage, 13-4 in the NFC under Nick Sirianni. So again, the reason why I bring that up right now is because this is continued excellence from the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts even, and yet Nick has ripped them every step of the way. And I don't even blame him for it. I mean, I've told him that I thought that he was wrong in all of that, and I've unpacked it, but I can't 100% fault it and just say, oh, that's nonsense, that's nonsense, that's nonsense. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is to act like any criticism of the Chiefs and Mahomes is just insane, or just because people are sick of their excellence is absurd. And I understand you're going to say, well, they won the Super Bowl last year. That does not make you unable to be criticized. That makes zero sense. Zero sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Just because you won a Super Bowl doesn't mean that you can't be that you're now immune to being criticized or talked about. What are some of the issues that are at hand here? I mean, it's just absurd.
But Nick, you're overstating this and acting like Mahomes has some secret plan. Like he's not even trying to play that well. Like he wants to. What's he got now? 8 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Like he wants that. He said last year wasn't fun because he wasn't able to shine offensively like he usually does. It's not us, everybody being tired of Mahomes being so great that we want to nitpick what he's doing. He's not playing well. It's judging him by the standard he set, which is incredibly high. But like I've said, it's if LeBron James in his prime was all of a sudden averaging 15 points and 4 assists, even if they're winning, we'd be saying, what is wrong with LeBron? And his shooting percentage was 38%. Like, that's the equivalent of what Mahomes is doing. Now, you're right. In the fourth quarter, he is clutch. He is making the big plays. And I agree. I don't think you put any other quarterback there, they're winning like this because of his intangibles as well. But to sit here and act like this is by design, like Mahomes is doing this on purpose
So that's,
I mean, that's kind of what you're saying.
No. If it sounded like that, then I'll be clear.
That's exactly what you said.
He knows definitively, all right, this works, this works, this works. I am going to try to figure out the other things that also work. And that leads to more mistakes. That leads to less explosive plays, because I think they are trying to build out a box of more things that are gotta have it plays, things that work. And I think they have the benefit of that because of the great defense and because of what they can go to late in games. I don't think he's trying to throw interceptions. I think he is taking more chances, like on a third down, being comfortable dropping, or I don't even know if it's third down, is holding on to the ball for longer than probably you would in a must-have-it spot in your own end zone. Can we hold up? Can you get across the field, Xavier Worthy? Working on these things, and it leads to more mistakes. So, no, I don't think he's trying to make mistakes. I think he is experimenting more than most quarterbacks would have the benefit of being able to do.
Can I pitch you on this? Because I asked Josh, we're trying to figure out statistically, how is Mahomes so good when we watch the games? Like, this is, I sense I have total confidence in the Chiefs and Mahomes, but a lot of the numbers don't work. And this is what Josh came up with: the highest in third and fourth down percentage in the last 20 years. The Chiefs are right up there for the 20 years that they're getting. What are they getting? 53% success rate. So I'm like, oh, when they need, this was us trying to be like, when they need it, he's at his best. And that, I think, is like, oh, the game's in the balance. Like, not really. I'm going to make this work. So that's the closest thing I could get to figuring out why.
And I don't necessarily see this as him trying to figure out what works from an experimental standpoint, as much as it feels like he's pressing because he doesn't feel like he's performing the way that he should. He doesn't feel like he has the options that he normally has outside with the wide receiver group, and he wants to be. He doesn't want to be the reason that all these games are so close late. He wants to be part of the solution.
But by the way, they're not close late. That's the other thing, and that's what's frustrating.
One score game.
Hold on. The Saints game, they're up 2 scores. I was at the Royals playoff game, but I was watching on my phone. They dominated the second half of that game. The Niners game, am I not mistaken that they were up 16 points or 15 points, and then the Niners got a late touchdown like the Raiders did? The Raiders game, they're up 14 points. The Raiders get a late touchdown.
Baltimore, Cincinnati,
yes.
Atlanta.
Yeah, those first 3. So the last, correct, and the Charger game as well.
Yep.
Those first 4. The last 3 have not been that.
Okay, so you're gonna raise banners, drop banners, because you were able to beat a devastatedly injured Saints team where the quarterback was not even playing anymore, right? With a backup quarterback. You're going to go celebrate that. You're going to celebrate beating the Raiders where it was a 4-point game going into the fourth quarter. Into the fourth quarter, which Nick Wright talks about all the time. He always mentions, oh, well, you know, they were down by only 3 points going into the fourth. It was a 1-score game going into the fourth. He always talks about the importance of that, whether it's to the positive or negative of whatever team he's talking about. But when it's with the Chiefs, it's, oh, it was never close. It was a 1-score game. It was 4 points. The score was 17-13 going into the fourth quarter against the Raiders, where the Broncos decimated them 34-18, where the Steelers decimated them 32-13 with Justin Fields. The Broncos had Bo Nix, right? Quarterback that Nick does not think is good. The Panthers with Andy Dalton, 36-22, where Andy Dalton had 26 for 37, 319 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Is Andy Dalton just stacked with weapons, right? Are we going to say that the Panthers have a better team, that if the Panthers just had a better quarterback, they'd be Super Bowl contenders? I mean, that's the problem. That's what Brou has said, that Nick is overstating these moments. He's overstating these games. I mean, heck, the fact that the Ravens lost to the Raiders and lost to now the Browns makes it look even worse that game was so close for the Chiefs. So yeah, if you want to celebrate that you were able to go up by 2 scores against the Saints with a backup quarterback, I mean, by all means, congratulations on that. But that's not the standard. Winning 27-20 against the Raiders, I mean, I just listed all these other teams dominating them and playing significantly better is worth discussing, considering the way how Mahomes, that offense, has played. I understand that there's injuries. Nobody is using this as evidence as, aha, I told you Patrick Mahomes is the worst quarterback in the NFL. So to keep coming back and say injuries, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to this discussion, which is what people keep losing their minds with. They can't understand that we're having a greater conversation. That if the Chiefs were getting all of these injured players back, that would be different. They're going to maybe get some of these injured players back. It's hard to really say because all these injuries are so scattered. It doesn't look like, Rashee Rice is going to come back. Hollywood Brown, there's the potential that he comes back. But who really knows? It seems like Pacheco will. But again, it's hard to really connect that.
I also don't think that I don't think the interception he threw in this game was some terrible, grievous error on his behalf.
But it's an interception. Every quarterback, when Purdy throws an interception that gets tipped, you blame him.
No, exactly.
So you got to blame Mahomes.
I am not.
I mean, a lot of quarterbacks get tipped interceptions.
I understand that, but to me that does not follow the logic of he's pressing. Coach said he's pressing because, but that to me is not a play that's because a guy's
Nick,
pressing.
Just based off of normal human emotion, if you are 4 games into the worst sort of streak of your career, okay, and then the next game you have the worst quarterback rating of your career, you don't think there's an element, even as great as he is, to want to press a little bit to get back to where he was?
I think you are misjudging it is, I don't think he looks at this as the worst 4-game streak of his career because the team's winning. He's won MVPs every game. He sets a new.
I'm not talking about wins and losses.
No, but he is. But you're asking. You asked me a question about his psychology. That is, does he feel like, oh man, I'm struggling and it's killing us? And I'm telling you, I don't think that's how he views it. Every game he sets a new record for the youngest to do this, whether it's the fastest at 30,000 yards, most touchdowns through the first whatever. Every week we see a new graphic. This week it was 30,000 yards before you're 30 years old.
But you think that makes him think he's playing well?
No, right. I'm saying I think his statistical dominance bucket is full, and he knows at some point that'll come back. I don't think he feels frustrated with how he's playing because they are winning, and in every game he has a moment like truck sticking Mustafa to win that football game.
Okay. Guys, that's just such nonsense because they were still winning last year, and yet Mahomes wasn't playing great and was frustrated. He was yelling on the sideline, yelling at players, yelling at the refs. Okay, so just stop with this. It's nonsense. He even admitted himself he did not enjoy last year. They won, they kept winning, they won the Super Bowl. He admitted that he wanted to get back to a different style of football. So Nick is just completely just making this up right now. Okay? Of course Mahomes is not happy with his performances. I understand they're winning, and he has to keep telling himself, it's a team game, we're winning. But he knows he has to play better. He's admitted it. He does not want these games to unfold the way that they are unfolding. There's no question about it. What Brou said is 100% accurate, and Mangini. But Brou said it perfectly. You're overstating. I mean, that just honestly cannot be denied. I mean, look at what Mahomes, I went through this before, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes, if we do intended air yards per pass attempt, he's at the bottom. He's at the way bottom. Means he's throwing the shortest passes out of everyone. Okay? Intended air yards per pass attempt. Average depth of target, whether completed or not. And yet, as I've also showed, he's got one of the highest yards after catch. He's just 0.1 away from being number 1. So that's the difference. That's not what Patrick Mahomes wants. That's not what he wants at all. So that's why, if anything, and I've said this to many times, so much of the credit and praise, it should be, are you impressed with Andy Reid making this happen? He's the one that's scheming these guys open and getting them on the run and getting them in positions to have yards after catch. He's the one that's able to, put together this team with duct tape and super glue. Despite Patrick Mahomes playing great and playing his worst football of his career, And Spags in that defense holding everything down. Again, this is not meant to act like Patrick Mahomes is a terrible quarterback, that he's a bad quarterback, that he's an overrated quarterback. That's not what anyone is saying. But you can tell Nick is backed into a corner in this clip. And what Mangini and Brou are saying is it's just accurate. Because if we were just talking about wins and losses and nothing else, just talking about wins and losses, and they're just finding ways to win, well then you would have to point out to other quarterbacks then for them finding their ways to win. You wouldn't be criticizing Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. You would say Josh Allen's doing last season. He said, oh, they're asking Josh Allen to do less. That's why they're winning. That's really bad look for Josh Allen. Rather than saying, no, Josh Allen is doing exactly what he needs to win those games and to go on that win streak and, make the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, he's throwing all these interceptions. He's been bad. He's been balling. He's got one of the best records of any quarterback in the NFL for the last 3+ years. One of the best records against the AFC. He's doing what he needs to do to win these games. So it's the inconsistency of applying certain variables and standards. And you can't just say, well, Super Bowls. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP winner. Greatness is not just measured in how many Super Bowls you win. If that's the case, then you better hope Patrick Mahomes wins 7+ Super Bowls. He's got to win 8 Super Bowls. And we know that it's not just number of championships because Nick Wright himself believes that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has more rings than LeBron James. The chances of LeBron James winning 3 more rings is pretty much slim to none. Yet he thinks, without a doubt, LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. So we know it can't just be rings and championships. We know that. Without a shadow of a doubt. Because Nick already thinks that Mahomes is better than Tom Brady. So you can't just say, well, Patrick Mahomes gets the benefit of the doubt because he has 3 rings and Lamar has none. And Jalen Hurts has none. And Josh Allen has none. It can't be that. It can't be that. It's not the way it works. So this was a fascinating clip that I almost didn't do. But since they're doing all this baseball stuff, and all of a sudden these guys are all acting like they know a lot about baseball, which is always funny to me. There's no way they're watching all these football games, basketball games, and baseball games. No. But so I wanted to make this clip, post it. I thought this was a very interesting discussion. And a pretty fruitful discussion as well, because I like that Brou and Mangini, were honest. They stated the reality of the situation. It was funny to watch Nick have to try to defend it. And yeah, just really interesting nonetheless. And I can't wait to see all the Chiefs fans come here and get real angry and act like, me or them are just being haters of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, when I've consistently said that the Chiefs are a top team. I've consistently praised the coaching staff, Andy Reid, Spags. I've consistently praised Patrick Mahomes and refer to him as an all-time great, saying that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are the greatest coach-quarterback duo. But again, this is the problem. When you have such an overstatement of talking about how great just this season alone is, any criticism gets flagged as you're just jealous, you're just sick of them winning, you're just a hater. And that's just, come on, man. That's just lazy. That's just lazy. And if it was about anybody else but Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes, it would be totally fair game. But the fact that it is a Kansas City, again, we're hanging banners for beating the Raiders, for beating the Saints. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about here? It's just bizarre to me. Very bizarre. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Patrick Mahomes, are you impressed with Mahomes' performance? Do you agree with Mangini, Brou, or Nick Wright? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.